Welcome back. Welcome back to Medium Small Talk. I am Kayla. I'm sorry for those who have been watching. I definitely went MIA for a few weeks there. Our home had a very big flood in the basement, and our newly finished basement, I should add. There's a lot of lessons there. I mean, nothing's a coincidence, but come on. And then I got bronchitis really bad and was down anyways. No excuses. I swayed from my commitment, so I apologize. But here I am, ready to get back on track. So I'm Kayla. I'm a psychic medium. I also channel information. We all channel in lots of ways. I think that most people who are creative in any way or put something out there, whether it's a book or a song or whatnot, we all kind of channel with the help and support of our team and spirit. So today I'm going to do something different in that I have asked my guides to kind of assist in providing some information, maybe some information that I don't even know, information that you don't even know. But again, my intention is always pure, just that I come up with an idea that I feel maybe might be floating around energetically right now. And so I'm going to just touch on it. Some of it's my tried and true understanding of how life has worked for me. And some of it, again, is just going to be channeled information for you. I always believe that whoever is watching this and shows up, that's kind of how it's meant to go. So let's get started. Today I want to talk about money. Money. It's the thing that makes the world go round, isn't it? I want to talk about the umbrella of money. Under money falls a lot of different things. I think even the idea of money can be really triggering to people. We grow up with these embedded beliefs, depending on how your parents were raised, how your grandparents were raised, what century, what decade they've come from, what color of their skin has definitely impacted their experiences in the world, being a minority, being a female or male, growing up as a single mom or a single dad. All of these different kind of intersectional lenses really impact somebody's individual understanding of money. And to me, it's like a big term of money. When I say money and wanting to talk about it as a topic, I'm also talking about scarcity, these beliefs and values that we walk around in the world with. I also want to touch on survival mode. Super important when it comes to scarcity and money. So where are we gonna start? Let's talk about how our values and beliefs impact us. I spoke about it before. I feel like if you haven't done the work yet and you're watching this video, I mean, I definitely recommend. There are tons of probably free workshops out there, lots of online content of like actual worksheets that you can work through and process. There's lots of videos, but I will just spit out just a little bit of kind of what I mean in terms of working on and healing your relationship with money, especially if you identify as a spiritual individual, because there's this incongruent belief of like, if I seek abundance, or I come from abundance, or I have abundance, or I desire abundance, does that make me less of a good person? Does it make me a bad person? Some of those questions will come up around, well, maybe I'll just live a simplistic life, and that's okay. If it's okay for one person, am I a bad person because I desire more? And what does that mean? And I think as we navigate life, especially if you identify as a spiritual individual, there is this mindset that comes up that we should just be grateful for what we have, and we should just accept what we have, and anything that we do have needs to be given away and pushed out. And that's not to say that there aren't some people who signed a contract to come to earth to do exactly that and to fulfill that. Monks, being a nun, or someone who's completely given themselves over in a way, regardless of where they've come from or what their, financial situation is just to give. And that does not mean those people are specifically here to do some of those things, and that's amazing for them. I mean, it takes all kinds to make the world go round. Then there are other people who, let's just say, I don't want to say normal or average people, but most people have a very incongruent relationship with money as they get to adulthood. They start to look back and reflect on, and this is what I always encourage people to. Money is your birthright. And that can get that can be upsetting to people in the spiritual community. But I'm a firm believer, and if you're watching this video and you disagree, that is totally okay. I'm a firm believer that, yes, we choose certain sufferings, and that is absolutely vital to the evolution of our soul. However, when we suffer and we learn and we overcome and we work through that, whatever that looks like, whether it's coming from poverty, being a minority in a community and really having to struggle, whatever that lens is, whatever your personal experiences are, everybody in this world is deserving to embrace their human. We do come to learn, but we also come to experience the amazing experience of being human. Now, is everyone going to be able to overcome that? Is everyone going to be able to get to that other side and really welcome, their light and their birthright of around abundance and wealth and having that freedom to choose and opportunity? No, unfortunately, not everyone is going to be able to move through that and overcome that in this life. I don't want to say that's okay, but I think there are a lot of other things that go on that that are maybe a little more confusing or meant to be or whatnot, but let's, Kayla, refocus. Healing your relationship with money. It really looks like going back and saying, how was I raised and what were the messages that I heard around money? Was I brought up in a very poor environment where I saw externally adults struggle? The scarcity was so present that it impacted, I don't take a lot, I just take a little bit of food, or, was the scarcity around not ever feeling like, they were enough because maybe, the stereotype of being poor in the world. There are so many different kind of lenses, especially as a child, that they see and they absorb and they take that on. And more importantly, we know genetically and within cell memory and DNA and all that kind of stuff, we send things to different generations. So, me holding in my body a lot of things that my mom believed around money, and same with my nana, as independent women who, definitely experienced very low moments in terms of money in their life and that scarcity, and really having to go into that survival mode and fight and to, get to a place where they could be okay. And just like that baseline of survival, that lived in me. And so as I grew up, I had to really unpack that. What was theirs? What's mine? And how do I heal that? I think that everybody, regardless of where you've come from, you can work hard if that's your intention and that's something that you desire, to really heal that relationship with money so that you can have a friendly, happy, healthy relationship with money. I think when you talk about money, and nobody really wants to ever talk about it, but when we talk about it, it's always like this thing, this presence in our life that we have like this constant altercation with, this conflict with, this anger towards it. Like, you didn't show up for me. How dare you? I have my debt, the weight that I feel is because of you. There's not enough of you in my bank account, and oh no, this has happened and I have to push this out. It's always this like negative, unhappy, resistant, defiant relationship with money. And that's just one way of being and dealing with money. But money isn't the enemy. That also constitutes into looking at values and beliefs around it. Like, did you grow up, if you were poor, did you believe that people who are rich or wealthy or abundant are living this life? Did your parents look at them out of jealousy and always be like, well, no, you're a good person. You come from a solid working class family. They're this. So were those some of your values and beliefs that were kind of put on you? Is that people who had money did bad things with money? People who had money were bad? We look in the world and definitely like the top down is significant, and who's at the top. And definitely we have seen, and it is our experience, that people with that much money don't always do great things, but that's not always the case. Good people do great things with money. Not so great people probably don't do great things with money, but it is unpacking some of that, looking at just some of those triggers. If somebody, gets a huge casino win, it's in your friend group or family group, is your first thing like jealous? Is it, what are they going to do? Just blow it? Like, what are some of the things that come up for you day to day? Other things to look at are when you spend money, when you go to pay for bills or the paycheck comes in, are you always looking at it as like, it's not enough? I should have more, and I hate that I have to pay for this bill, or I hate that this money has to go out. When you have cash in your wallet and you take that $50 bill to go buy groceries or go pay for something, are you like, I don't want to give it to you? Like, what is that exchange? There is so much healing to be had within that kind of relationship with money. So I think that's extremely important for everybody on the planet to be looking at where they've come from. Intergenerationally, what does that look like for you and how you experience money? And the thing is, people often forget the positive, and the upside is that for the most part, when it's needed, there is always enough, and it always shows up. I can't tell you how many stories I've heard around that is, in the moment of needing that bit for rent, or the moment I just need groceries, like the money appeared. We are always taken care of. And then that's also a really other good way to kind of look at it, especially if you're looking at, wanting to attract more money into your life, or just wanting to kind of look and heal that relationship. Another layer, another avenue to go about healing is gratitude. Gratitude to me, I always say, like, manifesting is magic. And I think we're all magic, and I think there's so much magic in the world, but to manifest and to really work through that, and it's a lot deeper and bigger than just that, buzzword. The other way I think magic shows up in the world is through gratitude. And it's really having to shift that mindset and be grateful. So I always tell people is when you're in that rut, and when you really look at that relationship with money, and you're like, I could have, like, there could be some work here. Like, I can see how I get angry when I have to pay things out. I can see how I'm always looking from a glass half to empty kind of perspective. And I always say, start with gratitude. When you really start to be like so grateful for that money coming in, and like, okay, wow, I have this consistent amount of money, and is it amazing amount? But no, but like, it pays for things. And wow, without being able to pay that bill, I wouldn't have electricity. Without being able to pay that bill, I wouldn't have water. So thank you so much for that money, so that I could pay, so that I could have water. Because, there are a lot of people in this world, especially even in our country, who don't have healthy, fresh drinking water. And that's something that we really do take for granted. So really looking at it from that way. And when we do go and spend money, and we're intentional about choosing what we spend, we can be like, wow, like, how amazing that I worked and I was able to get this money consistently every few weeks or so, and now I get to go and purchase, groceries so that my family can eat. That's pretty amazing. And so when we're really starting to have a lot more gratitude for how money shows up, then it kind of helps us transcend into, a higher level thinking of money, but it also helps to kind of peel back some of those layers around having to heal. A lot of people that I know have big stories in terms of how money's impacted them. Maybe a family member stole money from, their family, and there's just always this idea that money creates conflict and never get into business with family. And, every family and every person has their own story about where they came from, and everyone will tell you that money, it was a huge part of that in terms of lifestyle, in terms of how their family valued it, in terms of how the lack of it showed up and the impact of that. It's just so significant. So it is such an important topic because it transcends to something a bit higher, which is worth and deserving. So when we have a struggle with money when within our life we had grown up around some scarcity. It definitely becomes very impactful into kind of how we play out our life as an adult. And more often than not, it's subconscious. A lot of scientists studies have been done on like kids in care, around that scarcity of like, am I ever going to get fed? Is there going to be food tomorrow? And hoard and hoard and hoard. And it's subconscious. If you ask a child while they're hoarding money, most likely they don't really understand why. Even as adults, even myself, there was always this ever-growing, concern that if I didn't stock the pantry, there was never going to be enough food in the pantry. And the thing is looking back, even sometimes now, that food doesn't even get eaten. It's not a perishable item. It just kind of gets pushed back to like where the cans are and so on. But it was just this subconscious need that there always had to be so much. I know a lot of people who have talked about, I think Dak Shepard, who is an actor, talked about always having to have 2 or 3, like buying things in bulk out of this subconscious fear that it's going to be gone. If there's not like 4 or 5 toothpaste in the house, what happens if we don't have any? And so it's just really interesting how this really shows up. Now, the thing that nobody really shares is that how much that can impact you and actually stop you from living the life that you deserve to live and that you deserve to have. It will show up within relationships. It shows up within career. It shows up within finances, of course. It can show up in a lot of ways, because all of what that does is it creates stories about ourselves. Stories around scarcity, stories around not having enough. And when we think we're never going to have enough, sometimes we think that we're not enough and not deserving. We think that abundance and wealth and success and opportunities and the freedom to choose and time freedom is something that happens to those people. It's something that happens to her and him and them. It's not something that happens to me. And we really, really suffocate ourselves with these self-limiting beliefs. And they absolutely impact us. They stop us from flying. They stop us from jumping out at opportunities because the fear is so significant. These self-limiting beliefs stop us from really seeing who we really are, seeing our capacity, seeing our greatness. So when this is so present, it's all the more important to go back and really look again, how were you raised? What are your grandparents? How did they view things? What was that lifestyle like? What were you told? What were all of those messages? Now, we don't have to stay long here. It's not going back to the past and having to unpack everything. It's just really seeing how it shows up. Now, one thing that you can do that's really great is you can do a bit of a meditation or visualization, or just sitting down with an intention, whether it's in the bath or out for a walk, and really just saying, okay, I acknowledge and know where I came from and some of the messages. I can feel it. I know where it is in my body. I remember my mom saying that. I remember my dad saying that. I remember my grandfather like belittling people who had money. Even the good people, it was just like they couldn't possibly be good. Oh, I remember that. I remember that feeling of hearing that and thinking, oh, that can't be true. You know what I'm going to do? And take some deep breaths, and I'm going to send those beliefs and those values and those messages that didn't come from me, and I'm going to send them back to their original owner. That's one way that we can send things back that we don't need to hold on to. Because one, they were never yours to begin. And two, we also can decide that we don't want to take ownership of them anymore. Were you impacted by them? Yes. So now you're sending it back to all of those people, back so that they can deal with whatever, whether they're here or on the other side. And then the next piece is saying, okay, and I'm no longer willing to hold on to this anymore. I'm no longer willing to take ownership for these self-limiting beliefs, because that's not the person I want to be. So really spending some time and reflecting, who are you? Are you someone who believes magic happens? Or are you someone who looks at the glass half empty? And if you were, and you want to, and you hold the desire to switch and change that, that's great. Call it in. Become that person. But we all have that opportunity. We can all give ourselves that opportunity, and we all have the possibility of shifting and changing and switching that perspective at any given time. Because what you'll come to understand is a lot of it's just energy, right? Thoughts, messages, it's energy, and it does come in within our body, and it can stay in our cell memory, and we can send it back, but we can shift it at any given time. What else? I feel like there was something else really important to kind of add to that. Yes. Not apologizing for who you are and who you want to be. I've often got caught in this too. I have certain amazing people in my life, and everyone's amazing, but I have certain people in my life that are really happy living a simple life. They're just content with that. That can be unpacked in a lot of different ways. Maybe it's fear, maybe it's that message of they're never going to have or be good enough. So I might as well just tell myself the story of like, this is fine. I'm happy with just having this. Some people will say, oh, well, as long as everyone's healthy. For sure. It's like we tell ourselves and the world, or offer justifications to ourselves and the world to justify our desires. Remember, we are human having a human experience. You are a soul having a human experience, absolutely. And so as the soul in its purest form is innately great and good and intentional and serving of the planet and coming here to evolve and all of those amazing things, but we chose to be human. And so it's like we often move through the world thinking this is as good as our experience gets. If that's what we believe, that's fine. That's a self-fulfilling prophecy. That's where we will stay. But if we do the work and uncover our greatness, it can lead to great success. If we do the work to uncover our truth, and without having to justify it or, make sense of it, we just embrace it and explore it all. It can really lead to a lot of doors opening. So back to kind of that idea that I have certain people in my life who are really happy living a simple life. I've never heard a lot of my friends and friend groups say, I want to be a millionaire. I want to win the lottery. I want to have opportunity. I want to be really successful. I want to be well known. Not a lot of people can embrace that. Why? It is limiting who you are. And some of that is limiting the, expansion of your soul, right? Now, I'm not saying that everyone out there has to be a millionaire. And I'm not saying that everyone wants to be or has to be successful, but this is what it needs to come down to, is what do you want? And if what you want does fall in that category of fame or fortune or having opportunities or the time freedom to just choose whatever the heck you want to do every single day, amazing. Embrace that. Don't apologize for it. Own it. Don't justify it to anybody. And absolutely do not compare yourself to anybody. I often think of this, and it's a moralistic kind of, function of our ego, I want to say, that, constructs this idea that we have to be a certain way. And if we step outside of that and desire and want, or say that we desire or want something out loud, it's like, oh, we fall too far off the moral highway. And then what? We're bad. We're evil. It's sad, because I really think that that direction in which we push ourselves, or allow the kind of ego in the brain to kind of go, it really does limit us from a lot of things. My husband and I often talk about our dream home. It's not this house. We put our blood, sweat, and tears into this house. Oh, I can't even begin to tell you about this house. It's huge. It's a nice house. It has lots of bedrooms, and we've got it for a steal, and we put everything in our lives into it, mainly my husband, because he's done most of the work. But it has a lot of things, and people come in here and they're like, oh wow, it's so nice, like you guys did such a great job and all of that. And there's definitely this, for a long time there was this guilt. It's like I wanted to become small because I would hear the idea of wanting a bigger house, or wanting a house by the ocean, or wanting my kitchen to look a certain way, or whatever. It's like I would know that I had these desires and these thoughts, but then people would come into my world and say, oh wow, it was like I was telling myself, they're telling me, be grateful. Shut up, be grateful for what you have, because there are other people out there that don't. And it would like just limit me. It would make me feel small. It would make me feel guilty for even the thought or the desire of wanting something different from what I had. And it's like I would tell myself, oh, you're not grateful. Now you need to spend extra time being more grateful for this house. And the funny thing is, that's just all ego and a bunch of bullshit that gets in the way in my brain. But who am I? And I would ask myself that, who am I? I am someone who, alongside my husband, worked really hard to create this home. And has there been a day that's gone by that I'm not grateful every single time? Absolutely not. I know what it took to put in the electrical. I know, hands down, what it took to put in that plumbing. I know exactly what it took and how much it took. Money, energy, brain function to build this house. Now, I've been grateful every single day, and I am a good person, and it is a beautiful home, and it's done amazing things for our family, and it's housed, the start of our family. But I've also given myself permission, because I don't care what other people think, that the house I have in mind that's going to house our growing family and all the kids we're going to have, and where I want it to be, the ocean and all that kind of stuff, I do want all of that, and that's okay too, because it's going to make me happy. That doesn't mean I don't give of myself, and I don't give my time and money to people and foundations and all that kind of stuff. And then again, this is where you justify it. It's like, well, no, I'm a good person, I did this or whatever. It's like we have to justify the desire, the human desire to want something. Now, don't get me wrong. There are people, and I think we all can be this version of ourselves, is where the pendulum swings so far the other way that we desire and want all of these things without ever acknowledging where we've come from, what we've created, what we've had, the gratitude around all of those experiences to get us to this point. I do think that there are people who walk around the world who are always wanting more than what they have. They think that they'll be happier when they have this. They're not happy now. They're not satisfied with their life now. They're miserable. They're unhappy. They look at everything as less than, and they just can't wait to just have all these things in the future. I don't really think that's congruent with the soul in the human experience. I do think that regardless of where you're at, regardless of how much money you have in your bank account, regardless of your level of success, regardless of whatever your experiences have been, in this present moment, you should absolutely be grateful and absolutely feel fulfilled and feel amazing. You should, harness in and appreciate all these opportunities that allowed you to get to this point, because chances are in this moment you have way more in memories and experiences and love and in money than most of the people in the world. And that is something to, sink into and appreciate and hold, and to hold your head up in and feel proud that you have moved to this place. But that does not mean that it's not okay to have all the other things and to want and to desire more things to come. Okay? Because I think what I see often, especially in readings with clients, is again these self-limiting beliefs where they want this new job, or they want a different house, or they want this growing family. They want just the basic things about, being human that really help us function better. The bigger kitchen that allows, the kids to sit here, and this, and more space, and all of this, and, but they're just so scared to ask. And when asked, like, why don't you just go get the new job? Like, why don't you just, believe that that's out there, believe that that's a possibility, believe that it's your birthright to be happy and to deserve to have an income that matches your work ethic. And a lot of times they're like deer in the headlights, and they can't connect to it because maybe they haven't done that work of going back, or maybe they just have never considered that they could possibly deserve more than what they have. Or maybe they carry the shame and the guilt of, but if I want more than what I have, maybe it means I'm not grateful. And I don't want that to get taken away. There are a lot of interesting, constructs that our brain creates. I always tell people, be true to who you are. I don't give a shit about who's doing what down the street or what your best friend thinks. Or who are you and who do you want to be in this world? And do you want more money in order to do whatever? Maybe you want to be a missionary and you want to go across the world and help build houses in third world countries. Maybe you want to sponsor 4 families every Christmas. Maybe you want to do all these amazing things with money. That's amazing. But who gives a shit in terms of, I shouldn't have said that. Who gives a shit in terms of who wants to, if there are 2 families that both want millions of dollars and they have their own individual reasons, who gives a shit about what their reasons are? If they believe that they deserve it, if they believe that they want it, who is to judge? Because everyone is pure when they look in their pure form in terms of their intention. Just because maybe this family wants to maybe go on more vacations, and maybe this family just wants, to live in a way that money isn't a barrier to saying yes to things, vacations or travel or, to help other people, or maybe whatever. Maybe it's just more subtle. Maybe it's just, but maybe this family wants to help change the world and whatever. There's no judgment. We all help and do our part in all different ways. Just because one's more blatant than maybe the other one in terms of helping doesn't make them less deserving. So, to kind of sum up, because I feel like the video is getting long, is that money's your birthright. Opportunity is your birthright. The freedom to choose to do whatever you want with your time, with your money, with your body is up to you. Nobody gets to tell you what that looks like. No one gets to tell you that your desires or your biggest dreams are wrong or too big. More importantly, don't do that to yourself, because more often than not, we're the ones standing in our own way. We're the ones who are secretly telling us that dream that we have of, being a writer or being an astronaut or, living in a place that's sunny 24/7 is too big. It's too loud. It's too much. It's never going to happen. Usually we're the ones to cut down our own dreams, our own intentions, our own desires faster than other people. Don't do that to yourself. You came here, and whether you've had an easier life, no one has an easy life. Whether you've had an easier life or whether you've had a challenging life, you're still deserving because you're a soul. The only difference is the difference between the person who made $1 billion company by starting at the bottom and working the way, to the top, versus somebody who, lives in debt every day and whatnot. The only difference between the two is that one believed that they could and one didn't. Our beliefs about self are so powerful. Although only energy, it's like we put them on and then we wear them, we become them, and we allow that story to really dictate what we do with our lives. So, to whoever is watching this, if you haven't yet already, or even if you have at some point, but you feel inspired to do so, go back, heal your money story, heal your relationship with money. And I will tell you from experience, it does shift and change. It's like an onion. It peels back over the years, more things come forward, or you realize that the scarcity mindset shows up in different ways, or you realize that you're living in survival mode all the time, even though your financial experience in the world, or like your world around you, actually doesn't need to anymore. It's like, oh, okay, I can let this go. Regardless of where you're at, I really encourage you to heal those parts of you, because it's so much bigger than money. Let's be honest. If most of the population struggles, budget every month, live paycheck to paycheck, have to really say, ooh, when someone's asked to do something, or someone is asked of their time or their money to donate, or, or asked of themselves to go and travel or do something, or they desire that, most of the time people have to say no. We live in a world of no, or we live in a world where people do say yes even though financially they're not there, and therefore, they get themselves into more debt. Regardless, we do live in a world primarily where we have to say no more often because the financial opportunity is just not there. And if that's you, it can shift. It can shift and it can change 100%. I tell you from experience, okay? As somebody who grew up extremely poor and carried a lot of values and beliefs in the world around what I could have, I never thought I could have anything. That's a whole other video in terms of my self-limiting beliefs. But I just grew up with not a lot of things. I saw my mom struggle, and she had hand-me-down this and, old clunker cars and things like that. And it was just, this way. So I never thought that could ever be me to have all the things, and I've proved that wrong. And I'm very happy and comfortable with that. And am I going to stop? No, of course, I want more things. Not because they're gonna, fulfill me and make me happy, although some is, and that's okay. But because I desire them, and because I can, and it's okay too. Anyways, so if you are inspired to do the work, heal your money story, go back, unpack some of those family values and beliefs, walk yourself through those. Again, send it back. Reiki and things like that is a really good idea. Spending lots of time really noticing how scarcity mindset and that when you're in survival mode, how does that show up in your day-to-day life? Are you heads down like, I gotta work 2 or 3 jobs, I just have to do it? Is that helpful sometimes to get ahead? Absolutely. But if we believe and we get stuck in these stories of like, oh, I have to work so hard to have, just to get by. No, step back. That's a whole other thing of like around manifesting and whatnot. But these are little ways that you can manifest. Believe you're a money magnet. Believe that money can come to you in unexpected ways. If we keep telling ourselves in the universe, the only way we can ever survive is I have to work 2 to 3 jobs. I have to work extremely hard. I have to say no to everything. Like money is a giving and receiving kind of, balance. And so really looking at how you can kind of shift and change certain things and do the work. And like I said, you're welcome to message me for any questions, but there is so much information out there around healing your relationship with money. Write down wherever you can. Abundance is your birthright. Money, wealth, success, health, all of those things are your birthright. Again, the only difference between the woman who made $1 million, billion-dollar company with her own 2 hands and her brain and a team of amazing people, and somebody who struggles paycheck to paycheck, is that this woman believed that she could, and she wasn't going to let anything stop her. And then this other person may sit in those values and beliefs around and these stories and messages of not being able to be good enough, and they can't go, so they just hold themselves in this place. It does take courage, but courage only exists when there's fear. Right? Just like being brave. Yeah, you're scared to do things. You're scared to jump. You're scared to shift and change your way of being. But being brave means you just do it anyway, because that idea of where you could go is just a little bit better than where you are. Okay? So that is all I will say about that. I have a few cool ideas for the next few videos, but thank you for watching Medium Small Talk. I do hope that you're deserving and you're worthy of all the things, okay? Next week, I think I'll probably explore a little bit around manifesting and visualizing, because it does tie in really well with these self-limiting beliefs and really kind of using some of these tools in the world to really help shift. It's the closest thing, I think, as a human that we have access to in terms of magic. So I am going to jump off now. And I hope you guys have a beautiful day wherever you are in the world. Thank you. Bye.